Imagine this. You've just returned from a long and dangerous journey. You've crossed an ocean to come back to your family, your friends, your people. But when you arrive, the settlement is empty. The homes are gone. There's no smoke, no footprints, no voices, just silence. And on a post, one word carved deep into the wood, CROATOAN. No sign of struggle, no graves, no bodies. Over 100 men, women, and children vanished. This isn't a ghost story. This is real. Over 4 centuries later, historians and scientists still don't know what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. And the deeper you dig into the facts, the stranger it gets. The year was 1587. England was eager to build an empire across the Atlantic, to compete with the rising power of Spain, to expand trade, and to claim new territory. Queen Elizabeth I granted a charter to one man, Sir Walter Raleigh. His mission? Establish the first English colony in the New World. The place they chose was Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina. It was wild, untamed, and full of hope. This was going to be the beginning of something big, a fresh start, a new future. 117 colonists made the journey. Among them, carpenters, farmers, women, children, even babies. This wasn't just an outpost. It was meant to be a permanent English town, and it marked a turning point in history. For the first time, families from England were settling in an unfamiliar land, thousands of miles away from home. But dreams don't always survive reality. Because just weeks after they arrived, the cracks started to show. The land may have been full of promise. But the reality? Brutal. The colonists quickly realized Roanoke Island was not the paradise they had hoped for. Supplies ran low, crops failed, and their relationship with the local native tribes was tense, sometimes peaceful, but often unpredictable. They were not the first English group to attempt this. A previous expedition in 1585 had already soured things with nearby tribes, making survival even harder for the new settlers. The colony desperately needed more food, more tools, and more support. So, just weeks after arriving, Governor John White, leader of the Roanoke colony, made a difficult choice. He would return to England to gather supplies, leaving his family and the other colonists behind. He promised to return quickly. But then, the Anglo-Spanish War erupted. Every available ship in England was commandeered to defend the homeland. John White was stuck, and by the time he finally made it back to Roanoke, 3 years had passed. John White had every intention of returning quickly. His wife, his daughter, and his infant granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas, were all waiting for him at Roanoke. But when he reached England, everything fell apart. The country was preparing for war with Spain. The Spanish Armada, one of the largest naval threats in history, was on its way. Queen Elizabeth ordered that no ships could leave the country. They were all needed for defense. White tried everything. He begged. He borrowed. He even attempted to sneak out on private vessels. But storms and attacks by pirates forced him to turn back again and again. 3 long years passed. And finally, in 1590, White was granted passage back to Roanoke. He landed on the island in late summer, heart pounding, desperate to see his family again. But what he found was not a colony. It was silence. When John White stepped off the ship and onto the shore of Roanoke Island, he knew instantly something was wrong. The fort was gone. The houses, dismantled, not destroyed, just taken apart. It didn't look like an attack. It looked like they had packed up and left. But where? Then he saw it. On a wooden post, one word carved deeply into the grain: CROATOAN. Nearby, 3 more letters scratched into a tree: CRO. White had given the colonists a code before he left. If they were ever forced to leave under distress or danger, they were to carve a Maltese cross beside their message. But there was no cross. That meant they left willingly. Did they go to CROATOAN Island? Did they seek help from the native CROATOAN people, who had once been friendly? White wanted to search for them immediately, but a storm was coming, and his ship's captain refused to stay. Just like that, the last chance to find the missing colonists slipped away. John White never saw his family again, and the fate of the 117 men, women, and children who vanished from Roanoke remains a mystery to this day. The most widely accepted idea is that the colonists simply left Roanoke and merged with friendly Native American tribes, most likely the CROATOAN, also known as the Hatteras. Some early accounts from later English settlers describe Native Americans with European features, including gray eyes and lighter hair. Others spoke English or wore English-style clothing. Archaeological digs on nearby Hatteras Island have uncovered English tools, swords, and cooking pots in tribal settlements. Did the colonists abandon their failing settlement and find a new life? Some experts believe the colonists may have traveled inland, up the Chowan River, where later clues, like 16th-century artifacts, were discovered. This theory suggests the colonists were still trying to survive but moved away from the vulnerable coastline. And then there are the more fringe ideas: a massive storm, a secret cover-up, even supernatural events. While unlikely, these theories live on, because the mystery still has no clear answer. In 1937, over 300 years after the Roanoke colonists vanished, a strange object surfaced: a stone, rough, weathered, with a message carved into it. The writing claimed to be from Eleanor Dare, the daughter of John White. It described the death of her husband and daughter, and a desperate plea for whoever found the stone to tell her father what happened. Over the next few years, more than 40 other stones were discovered, each continuing the tragic tale. They came to be known as the Dare Stones. If they were real, they'd be the missing link, the final message from the lost colony. But many historians believe they're fakes, part of an elaborate hoax created for fame or money. Still, one or two of the earliest stones haven't been entirely dismissed. Could they be genuine? Then there are artifacts, scattered discoveries in tribal villages, English tools, broken armor, metal rings, nothing definitive, but enough to suggest the colonists didn't just vanish into thin air. They may have lived on, in some way, just not as an English colony. The clues are few, the truth still hidden. Even today, the mystery of Roanoke continues to pull in archaeologists, historians, and even DNA researchers. And with modern technology, we're starting to get closer to answers. One major project is called the Lost Colony and Hatteras Island Archaeology Project. Since the early 2000s, researchers have been excavating areas around Hatteras Island, what was once known as CROATOAN. They've found English items like tools, pottery, and even a rapier, a type of sword used in the 16th century. But here's the catch. Those objects weren't found in a collapsed English settlement. They were found in Native American villages, which supports the theory that the colonists may have integrated into local tribes and survived, just not as the English had planned. Another breakthrough came from satellite imagery and soil analysis near Site X, a location inland along the Albemarle Sound. Researchers found signs of buried structures and English artifacts from the exact time the colony disappeared. Still, no graves, no records, and no clear explanation. Despite the tools we have now, lidar scans, ground-penetrating radar, genetic testing. The truth about Roanoke remains just out of reach. But the search isn't over. The story of the lost colony of Roanoke isn't just about a missing settlement. It's about how fragile dreams can be, how easily hope, ambition, and 117 lives can vanish, leaving behind only questions. And one single word: CROATOAN. We may never know exactly what happened. Maybe they found safety among native allies. Maybe they starved. Maybe something else entirely happened, something we haven't even imagined. But the power of this story lies not in the answer. It lies in the search, in the way it keeps historians digging, in the way one carved word on a post has echoed for over 4 centuries. Even now, new discoveries could be hiding just beneath the soil of the Outer Banks, or deep within the DNA of a forgotten tribe. Roanoke wasn't just the first English colony in America. It became America's first great unsolved mystery. And maybe that's why we're still fascinated. Because in a world full of answers, there are still a few secrets the past refuses to give up. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.